Well, let's talk about where things stand in Ukraine exactly 1 year after the Russian invasion and the mixed signals being sent by China on the war with retired Army General and Fox News contributor Keith Kellogg. General, it's always great to have you on. It's interesting because President Biden was talking to ABC News tonight, and he said that he does not see a major initiative by China to give Russia weapons. And then he said this. Listen.
But if they did, would that be crossing a line for you, Mr. President?
It would be the same line everyone else would have crossed. In other words, we impose severe sanctions on anyone who has done that.
So there would be serious consequences?
I'll let you characterize what they would be. We would respond.
He would respond. The consequences don't seem to be that serious. It seems like they kind of back away from this issue of China giving weapons to Russia.
Yeah, Trish, first of all, thanks for having me. Look, it's a pattern he has set. It's always like pushing everything to the right, never really giving an answer, qualifying an answer. You know, he needs to recognize and tell the American people that, you know, we regard China as an adversary. They're not a competitor. France is a competitor. China is not. And this alliance between the Russians and the Chinese is very, very dangerous if we let it continue.
It's interesting because he was asked the next question. They talked about, well, what about these Chinese drones, these lethal drones going to Russia? And he said, you know, just minutes before that said, look, I don't think that there's this big initiative on China's part to give weapons. Then he was asked about the lethal drones, and he gave a non-answer. Watch.
The U.S. intelligence is aware of everything that's going on in this area, but I'm not going to confirm specifically what U.S. intelligence has found out or not found out.
So clearly he knows, but it's a non-answer and no comment from the president.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I get perplexed when I see the president making comments like that because he does know. He kind of admitted he knows out there. And, of course, the Chinese are going to supply the Russians what they need if they ask for it because they're a partner. It's not like they're not playing a middle ground. They're an adversary for us, and they're an alliance with Russia.
Do you worry about China giving these lethal weapons to Russia? Is that a concern? Does that an escalation in your viewpoint?
Well, it's an escalation, but just reinforces what I've said previously is that they're an adversary. But I don't believe that it's going to make a marked difference on the battlefield. I think right now the Russians are on their heels. And I think because of the equipment that the United States has given by preponderance of weapons and the support that NATO and other allies have given, you know, I think the Ukrainians are doing quite well against the Russians, and it's going to come to, I think, a culminating point in the spring and the summer. It should. If it doesn't come to a culminating point and we don't give them the stuff they've asked for, I think what we're looking for is an endless war, and that is the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah, one of the things they've asked for, F-16s, fighter jets, and the president was asked about that tonight. Here's what he said.
You don't think he needs F-16s now?
No, he doesn't need F-16s now.
Is that a never?
Look, first of all, the idea that we know exactly what's going to be needed a year, 2, 3 from now, but there is no basis upon which there is a rationale, according to our military now, to provide F-16s.
But you're not ruling it out.
I am ruling it out for now.
For now.
Yeah.
The war goes on long enough, it looks like they're going to get fighter jets.
Yeah, I'm dumbfounded. I mean, you know, this is one of those, they don't need Abrams tanks, they do need Abrams tanks. They don't need MLRS, they do need MLRS. They don't need HIMARS, they do need HIMARS. Look, any piece of equipment you give them, I don't care if it's a rock and a stick, is going to help win this fight. And we need to give it to them. I think, but the reason I don't think it's going to happen, we can't even transfer the MiG-29s from Poland. And now they're talking F-16s, but give them everything they need to win this fight.